one or the other, and they're like.
Test, test.
Good morning. Welcome to the May 20th SDAC meeting. I'm Ted Kagan as acting chair, and I'm calling today's meeting to order at 9 a.m. Before the meeting begins, I will allow our interpreter please introduce themselves and to tell us about the interpretation.
Good morning. Announcement from the interpreter. To use the interpretation feature, please scroll to the bottom of the Zoom screen where the meeting controls are. Click on the interpretation icon, world, and select English as your language. If you're joining through the Zoom mobile app, cell phone, tablet, etc., please press the ellipsis, then interpretation, and then choose your language. Finally, click on mute original audio to not hear the original Spanish flow in the background. Headsets are available for interpretation. If you're in the meeting room, please check out a headset from the receptionist in the lobby. Aviso por parte del intérprete. Para hacer uso del servicio de interpretación, favor desplazarse a la parte inferior de la pantalla de Zoom, donde aparecen los controles. Haga un clic en el icono de interpretación, globo terráqueo, y seleccione Spanish, español. Si está utilizando la aplicación móvil de Zoom, celular, tableta, etc., presione los puntos suspensivos, luego interpretación y luego el idioma. Si no desea escuchar el audio original en inglés, en el fondo, por favor seleccione Mute Original Audio. Seleccionar audio original. Contamos con auriculares disponibles para el servicio de interpretación. Si se encuentra en la sala de reunión, favor de pedir auriculares con la recepcionista en el vestíbulo. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Ted Kagan, the vice chair. Our chair, Christine Steinberg, will not be attending today. Can we have our clerk, Mr. Michael Garcia, please confirm that we do have a quorum?
We have a quorum, Chair.
Well, that's it. Okay, thank you. Thank you. I will now ask our SANDAG staff liaison, Tim Garrett, to please lead land acknowledgement.
All right, thank you, Vice Chair Kagan. I would like to take a moment to acknowledge the land that we call home. The tribal nations of the San Diego region has historically faced injustices. We acknowledge the harmony that existed between the land, nature, and its original peoples, and who have since endured displacement, persecution, and systemic oppression. We pay respect to the unceded territory and homelands of the 18 tribal nations in our region, the most in any county in the United States, from 4 cultural groups: the Kumeyaay Diegueño, the Luiseño, the Cupeño, and the Cahuilla. This land has nourished, healed, and protected and embraced them for many generations in a relationship of balance and harmony. As members of the SANDAG community, we acknowledge this legacy. We aspire to learn from Indigenous traditional knowledge and experiences in undoing the injustices of the past.
Thank you, Tim. Now, may I have, please stand, please, and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Hey, before we begin with our agenda items, I'd like to review how to participate in today's meeting. Members of the SDAC may raise their hand and we will call upon you by name, hopefully. I'll try. And in front of you are the iPads where you will find today's agenda and supporting materials by clicking on the arrow on the top left. Please note that you can zoom in and out using the iPad touchscreen. And clerk, can we please provide a quick reminder on how the public comments will work?
Yes, thank you, Chair. As noted on the cover page of today's meeting agenda, in addition to email comments we may receive, the public may also provide live comments during today's meeting. So if you're a member of the public here in the room and would like to provide comments on an item, please submit a speaker slip to the clerk, and those speaker slips are out in the lobby. If you're a member of the public joining us on Zoom, please raise your virtual hand during the item you'd like to comment on. The raise hand feature can be found on the Zoom toolbar for those who are joining via computer, or by entering *9 for those joining via telephone. The clerk will call on members of the public first, followed by virtual commenters. Commenters will be called by the name or by the last 3 digits of the telephone number for those joining via telephone.
Thank you. Do any members of the working group have any questions of the meeting before we proceed? Okay. Seeing none. With that, let's start with item number 1, public comments and communications. Member comments. The members of the public shall have the opportunity to address the Social Services Transportation Advisory Council, or STAC as we call it, on any issue within the jurisdiction of STAC that is not on this agenda. STAC members and SANDAG staff also may present brief updates and announcements under that agenda item. Clerk, do we have any non-agenda comments from the public?
We have no general public comment, Chair.
Thank you. Do any members have any non-agenda comments? Okay. I not see any. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Do we have any updates from SANDAG staff?
Yes, thank you. Thank you. So obviously we are in our new building here at 1011 Union Street. Hopefully all of you had reasonable ease of finding and accessing the building here. I heard there's maybe some difficulties with the parking. For parking validation, we have stickers that our clerk has, and they basically, if you got a ticket from the parking garage, we'll put a sticker on top of that and it'll scan out when you're leaving the parking garage, and that should allow you to get out with no problem. Restrooms are located both, we have them, they're both in the lobby and then also around the corner here to the left and kind of like up behind this wall here. Let's see, we have freshmen's over in the corner. And the public reception for, if you want to come on non-meeting days, it's up on the 4th floor. So you can take the elevator up there. It should be public access after 8 or 9 a.m., something like that. But yeah, shouldn't need that for today. The draft for the 2025 regional plan is set to be released for a 55-day public comment period starting this Friday, May 23rd. You can share your thoughts until July 18th, and we'll kick off sub-regional public outreach events next month in June. And you can visit the 2025 regional plan website that's linked on our homepage for more details about those events. Thank you to those who were able to attend the microtransit joint working group last month on May 8th. I heard there were some good discussions and I wasn't able to be there myself, but hopefully it was informative to all of you. And then I'll turn it over to Ashley Wiley, who's going to share an update.
Hello, Ashley. I just wanted to share a little bit of information on one of our new projects that SANDAG just launched. So SANDAG has engaged a consultant to help us modernize our governance framework to ensure clear roles and responsibilities, streamlined decision-making processes, and improved communication channels between all of our stakeholders. So please keep your eyes out for a survey that'll be coming in your inbox in the coming weeks. As a member of our Social Services Transportation Advisory Council, we would greatly appreciate your feedback and perspectives. So the survey will come out in an email, and then I will also have maybe Tim resend the link just so it's a familiar email that you guys are used to seeing. So thank you.
Thank you. Any follow-up comments from the members or questions for the staff report? Yes, please.
This is Sharon Beckus. I have feedback on getting in as a foot traffic this morning. I have a hurt arm, so I couldn't get in that front door over here because I pushed the handicap door. It wouldn't open, the accessible open. I had to call the guy at the front to come down and open the door for me. He said, well, use your fob. I said, what the heck's a fob? I don't have a fob. So you need to have access for us to come to this meeting. Is it only because it was early that I couldn't get in? How will that be for the future? Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. We'll follow up on that. I know that as a staff member, I have the fob that I've tried that using the button and it does open for me, but it should be open for members of the public during during daytime hours as well. So we'll follow up on that and make sure that it is accessible. Thank you for raising that.
Well, that's pretty serious. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, we will continue to the consent calendar, consent agenda. This includes item 2, the minutes from our March 18th meetings. Are there any public comments on the consent agenda? Or any members on the consent agenda?
I move that we approve the agenda as presented.
And we have no public comment, just letting you know, Chair.
Thank you. Then I'll ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Yeah, Charlene motioned.
Do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
I so moved.
Okay, thank you. Is there a
Charlene?
second?
Somebody seconded.
Did you second? Okay. And then would the clerk please take the?
Still need a second.
who-
Anyone
okay.
want to second the motion?
I second.
Thank you. Would the clerk please then take the vote?
All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? One abstention from Charlene Beckus. The motion passes.
Thank you. We will now move to the next item. That's item number 3, is SANDAG membership update and solicitation of volunteers. This will provide information on membership. Tim will provide information on membership for the upcoming year. Tim?
All right, sure.
Okay, we just approved the agenda, but we did not approve the minutes. And I see number 2 is actually the minutes, so there needs to be a vote for that. And I would move to approve the minutes as written.
Yeah, the item 2, the consent agenda, was just the item 2 for minutes. So that was,
Oh, okay. Just
Yeah.
want to make sure.
are we okay on procedure for that?
Yes, we're good there. Thank you,
Okay,
Tim.
all right, thank you. Okay, so moving on to item 3, as Vice Chair Kagan mentioned, this is the membership update. So we're coming up on the end of our membership year. It's kind of on the fiscal year basis. And as many of you probably know, you've all been elected to 3-year terms on the STAC, except for the agency members who have kind of seats in perpetuity. This year, we have 5 positions whose terms are expiring. So the people I have are Todd Lordson in at-large seat A, Todd Shaw, at-large alternate seat B, Marissa Romero Lucero, at-large alternate seat C. Options for All, the agency seat, is represented by Brian Nero and Rachel Holliday as a social service provider for people with disabilities, and Jewish Family Service, represented by Christine Stensberg and Marilyn Greenblatt as a social service provider for people with limited means. And I sent out this list by email to make sure that hopefully there are no conflicts or inaccuracies in that list, but please let me know now if any of those is not correct, if that's not good. Okay, sounds good. All right, we'll move forward with those. Just wanted to make sure. Per the STAC charter, STAC members shall be chosen by a selection panel and shall serve a 3-year term beginning and ending in the month of July. At the end of their term, members may apply for another 3-year term. 3-year terms are staggered among the selected members such that annually the terms of approximately 1/3 of the members expire. The membership application and selection process therefore occurs annually. A selection panel shall consist of SANDAG staff and no more than 3 current members of the STAC whose membership position is not open for applications. The selection panel shall select members from a broad representation of social service agencies, transportation providers, and others representing the elderly, folks with disabilities, and people with limited means, and strive to attain geographic and minority representation among members as well. So we're looking to fill the positions that will be open in July. The application period will be open from today, May 20th, through June 27th, so a little over a month. And the selection committee will then meet in the first half of July to discuss the applications. The application is attached to the agenda, but we encourage prospective applicants to fill it out using an online Microsoft form. I didn't have a chance to get the links into the agenda, but we'll email those links out after the meeting, so you can do that online. Folks can contact me if they have any issues or questions about the application process. Successful applicants will be announced at the July 15th STAC meeting and will take their seats at the following meeting scheduled for September 16th. And then in September, once we have all of the new members seated, we'll elect a new chair and vice chair. With that, I'll turn it back to Vice Chair Kagan.
Thank you. Well, are there any comments on Tim's report about membership? Is everyone clear about that? Yes, please, Sean.
You mentioned that there would be a committee and up to 3 members would be on that committee. There would also be staff. Is there a way of forming that committee?
Yeah, we were intending to solicit volunteers at the meeting today. So Charlene, if you would like to volunteer, or other members of the STAC,
I will.
All right, very good. Thank you. We'll take down names and we'll let you know. Charlene, Wayne.
As Tim mentioned, we do need 3 current members who are not applying for reappointment this year to serve on the panel. Do we have any volunteers at this time? And are there any comments or further questions about membership? And please raise your hand if you do have. Also raise your
Question
hand if you'd
about the
like to
panel?
vote. Yes?
I'm over here, Ted. It's Sharon Beckus. I have a question. Do you do that virtually? Do you do that in person? How is that handled, Tim?
I think typically it's been done virtually. I would assume that that's probably the most convenient way to do it, but we can also do an in-person meeting if everyone would like to do so.
Okay, if it's virtual, I would like to as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
And did I see a hand from Clyde also as a volunteer or no? Oh, you did. Okay, thank you. Just want to make sure. So I've got Charlene, Wayne, Alex, Sharon, and Clyde. Is that correct?
Thank you.
You say maximum of 3 and you have 4 names? I hate to be picky, but
Yeah. We'll double check the membership and we'll see about availability as well. So I'll follow up with those 5 people who raise their hands.
Okay. Let's go on to item number 4 then, discussion item. And
can we just check with the clerk to see if there are any public comments on that item?
We have no public comment on this item, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Michael Turlap and Evan Funk will present an update on the Caltrans Planning Grant funded study on the move, innovation transit priority solutions for complete streets, for feedback from STAC members. Michael, Evan, please.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having us. My name is Michael Turlup. I'm a regional planner here with the San Diego Association of Governments. I'm joined together by my partner, Evan Funk, and we're here to talk a little bit about a report we're working on called On the Move. When you think of the projects that SANDAG works on traditionally, you think of big projects like the Rapid 235 or the South Bay Rapid, which are projects that can take 10 plus, 20 plus years to implement, which means that our riders really don't see the benefit of these projects for a long time. And consistently, what we hear from the community and our feedback when we go out to community organizations is that they want to see improvements to our bus system and to our buses much sooner than that. And so what we're looking into through this report is how we can utilize near-term low-cost projects called quick builds to start making some significant improvements to our bus system in the near term. And quick builds give us an opportunity to not only improve the speed and reliability of our buses, but also to improve the accessibility and safety of them as well. Oh, sorry about that. Going off the dome there. And so quick builds. You'll be hearing the word quick build a lot during this presentation, but what makes quick build so special is the fact that they utilize low cost materials like paint, bollards, or traffic cones, which means that these projects are a lot easier to fund and therefore are a lot easier to deploy in a timely fashion. What makes quick builds even more unique is the fact that they're temporary. And this means that quick builds can serve as excellent pilots for more substantial projects later down the line. And this means, of course, that our riders can receive the benefits of these projects much sooner when they're done in this temporary fashion. But more importantly, it allows for our community members to interact with these changes first. And see how these changes are going to impact their community before they become permanent, which gives the community an excellent opportunity for them to give us their feedback for what they would like to see changed in these different projects and what improvements they'd like to make. And that's invaluable information for us. And frankly, this allows us to get a little bit more experimental with some projects and try stuff like bus priority lanes or bus bulbs, which are stuff that are traditionally a little bit more controversial because ultimately quick builds make them temporary. We actually have an excellent local example of a quick build here in San Diego, and that is when the city of San Diego and MTS partnered together to lay down 2.7 miles of bus priority lanes along El Cajon Boulevard. And this initially was going to be an 18-month pilot project back in 2019. And it was to evaluate the operational benefits of a bus priority lane, as well as, more importantly, what the public acceptance of a bus priority lane would be. And it's 2025 now, and I don't know if you've been on El Cajon Boulevard, but those bus priority lanes are still there. So way past that 18-month pilot project range. And so that means that this was a successful pilot project. And in fact, the bus priority lanes were able to decrease the travel time of the Rapid 215 bus by a whole 2 minutes, which might not sound like a lot, but if you're going to ask the MTS operations people, that's a significant improvement and can save a lot on operational costs. And so what exactly is included in the on the move report? And so the on the move report includes 4 different phases. And the first phase is going to be a system evaluation, where we'll be looking at what are the problems that are affecting our buses today. Because we're trying to understand what exactly we're trying to solve for. Additionally, as part of this phase, we have identified 20 different corridors that we believe would benefit the most from quick build treatments, and that could be deployed on as soon as possible. The next phase is going to be creating an inventory of all the different quick build treatments that we could potentially deploy here in San Diego. So looking at what are the benefits of each of these different treatments, more importantly, what are the costs associated with them. And thankfully, there's been a recent surge in popularity of quick builds throughout the US. So we have a lot of examples to pull from for our research. And then taking the information from those first 2 phases, we'll be looking to exemplify how these changes can look by choosing 2 different corridors to do preliminary designs on. This is a planning grant, so these are just going to be high-level designs where we're drawing out on maps and seeing conceptually what these quick builds could look like. But potentially, after this project is completed, when we can find more funding, we'll be looking to work with our jurisdictions to bring those projects to completion. And then lastly, the last phase will be laying down guidelines and a roadmap for all the different best practices for how we can best successfully deploy quick builds here in San Diego. Now I'm going to pass it on to Evan, who's going to talk in a little bit more detail on some specific accommodations and treatments that will help accessibility, as well as talk about one of those preliminary designs as well.
Okay, hi, everybody. So more specifically, I wanted to go over some of the treatments that we're looking at that are specific to accessibility. And this is really why we're here today. We want to highlight what we think are beneficial treatments and examples of products or improvements that would increase accessibility, but we want to hear your concerns about these and what should we be thinking about before we're kind of wholesale recommending these things. So the first kind of category we're looking at is pedestrian improvements, specifically near bus stops. So these can include things people commonly know, crosswalks, improvements to pedestrian markings, improving visibility of the pedestrian environment. But there's also many products that exist, modular products made of plastic or other materials like that. Such as things called pedestrian islands, which kind of create a little refuge for pedestrians when they're crossing, as well as curb extensions, which reduce the distance of crossing the street for pedestrians. So these can kind of act in lieu of more permanent changes to the concrete or the roadway. There's also alternatives to bus stop amenities, including bus stop seating. So there are many different products that can provide seating at bus stops where there currently is none, be it for reasons of the geometry, there's not enough space for the seating, the standard kind of seating. Maybe there's opportunities for these products to be implemented, kind of smaller products, small seats that attach to bus stop poles, and that still allow ADA accessibility and would allow seating to be implemented where there currently is none. And then there's also signage and wayfinding. So we're looking at ways to different products such as painted markers, signs, things that improve readability and improve wayfinding and improve the accessibility of our bus stops in terms of just finding them or knowing where they go, things like that. And yeah, we're looking to get your feedback on what should we be thinking about before we recommend these and what considerations should there be for kind of any issues or benefits of these. Next, I wanted to quickly go over what we mentioned earlier. We're creating very conceptual designs for two corridors in the region. One is in Oceanside and includes roadways along some of NCTD's highest ridership routes. And then the other section is a section of Broadway in downtown San Diego. On this slide is kind of a snapshot of our very early conceptual design for Broadway. And it shows how we will be including pedestrian improvements such as curb extensions, which I mentioned earlier, to make crossing streets near bus stops easier. Includes bus stop improvements such as lighting and seating, and bus priority roadway improvements such as bus lanes. So this is just a quick snapshot into the kind of design we're doing in this project. And these designs are still being iterated upon, and we look forward to incorporating your comments into the final designs and the final report. But I just wanted to go over that. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you, Evan. So as a big part of this project, we're trying to get as much stakeholder feedback as possible. And so we've gone to various different working groups and community organizations trying to elicit that feedback. And what we've heard so far are that there are some opportunities for us to pair these quick builds with existing roadway improvements. So stuff like repaving, restriping, which really highlights our need to focus on coordination between fellow organizations and fellow governments when we want to deploy these quick builds successfully. Some of the challenges we've heard is that quick builds aren't necessarily immune from the challenges that affect our traditional projects. So stuff and questions around funding. Just because quick builds are low cost doesn't mean that our organizations or fellow governments don't need to find ways to fund them. That's still going to be a challenge. And then questions around maintenance. So if these are temporary deployments, what happens when somebody moves a cone? What's the maintenance cost for those look like? And if in the end, what does that do to liability? What happens when we have a bus bulb, a plastic bus bulb doing a curb extension and somebody decides to tamper with it and move it? What does that do to the accessibility of this bus bulb? What does our maintenance for these things look like? And those are all questions that we're really hoping to address in this report. Now, here's the timeline for this project. Over the oncoming months, we're looking to complete several different milestones. We've already completed about 50%, 60% of the project, but ultimately, we will be looking to have our final report finished in the end of the summer or in early fall, and as well as doing our final presentations as well. But yeah, ultimately, we're very excited for this project. We're excited for any opportunities that come from it, and we're very excited to work with our partner organizations to hopefully make some near-term improvements to our streets and our bus stops to help with accessibility of our buses. So that's our presentation. We're excited for any feedback you may have. We know you're the resident experts on specialized transportation, and we just want to hear from you if you think we might be missing something, if there's anything you think we should include. We'd love to hear that, and we're open to any questions.
Thank you. Are there any public comments to Michael or Evan?
Just noting, Chair, that we don't have any public comment on this item.
Thank you. Any comments to Evan and Michael by our members? Yes, please.
I'm going to take it that you're talking to me, because when you say yes, please, I can't tell who you're saying. Several things. One is I'm making a suggestion for blind people locating bus stops is to make some kind of a tactile strip across the sidewalk so that will lead to the post so I can find it. Bus drivers can't find them, but I can with some assistance. The other one is to remember that when you're talking painted markings, close your eyes and tell me how well they work for you. Paint does not work for a person who does not see it. Also, a lot of signage is not usable by people who are blind or visually impaired because it either contrasts and it's a lot of times just the size of it. So keep those things in mind that when you're providing feedback or information to people who are sighted, to look at it as a person who is not visually looking at it, to see what kind of feedback they're getting or what kind of information they're getting. And one of my problems and other people's is when bike paths are crossing the pedestrian crosswalk. I ran into one at Hawthorne and 5th the other day because they took a piece of the curb out to make a bike lane, and I then had troubles finding where to get out of the street. It was really difficult. The dog would even have troubles finding it because and that would be on a northwest corner of that intersection. It was difficult to figure out where I could go, and we just sort of stood in the street and made our turn. So those are things to think about. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. Yeah, we'll make sure to include those into all of our different accessibility treatments that we're suggesting, just making sure that visually impaired assistance or accommodations are included. So thank you.
Thank you, Evan, Michael, for your comments.
We still have Sharon and Clyde.
I'm sorry?
Sharon and Clyde.
Yes, please.
Clyde, you go first, I'll go second.
Okay. Hi. Have a little bit of word salad. I'll try to get it all out. I wasn't sure when and where to put it in there. But on the subject of the signage, yes, we do need large print if we're going to have print. And I don't know if this is in your province or not, but roundabouts are a real issue for pedestrians because you can't, even though there's a crosswalk, a person can come swerving around that corner. So maybe some kind of blinking caution light or something. So A simple thing I've asked for years is that the buses be equipped with automated call-outs. Some are, some aren't, some work, some don't. Today, I came all the way from Escondido to Union Street in San Diego with not one single stop announcement, not one. So if you want to put money in something, let's get some systems that work. A little bug bothering me. There are still insufficient Braille markings at bus stops. I check every time I'm around one, and I frequently find bus stops that are not marked with Braille markings. Again, you know, along with the call outs, I've been dropped off at bus stops without any idea where I am. That happens a lot in North County at the Escondido Transit. So a thought, you know, this may be reaching pretty far, but somebody asked me the other day, why do we not have any line that goes from either downtown or Balboa Park to the safari park? We have lots of visitors who come here who want to go there, who might use that service. And certainly people like me, I do have an annual pass. I can't go. I live in San Marcos. I can't go to the safari park. I would come downtown and get on a bus if I could do that. So that's just something that ought to be thought about as we go forward. I do feel that East County is vastly underserved. And, you know, that's been brought up many times. There's lots of little towns and stuff out there that they're just isolated. I live in San Marcos. To the east of me is Escondido, which has a significant number of bus lines. To the west of me is Vista and then Oceanside, which both have lots of bus lines. Vista has buses winding around among little residential areas even. San Marcos has very little. You can't even go down San Marcos Boulevard. You can get to one end of it, you can get to the other end of it, but you can't travel down it, which is a huge disservice to people who live there or work in that area. One last thing. Oh, I said about the signage. I think that's it. I know you're looking at other things and I commend you for your ideas. They sound good. I think that some of the issues I'm bringing up are not at all new. And when we're planning and figuring out what to do with our money and our resources, can we please address needs that have existed for years? I've been on STAC for years, and I have brought up the issue of call-outs, training the drivers, or automated call-outs for years, and it's still a problem. I had to get up from my seat, walk up to the bus driver on the 235 coming in and say, would you please make sure that we get off at Union Street? That shouldn't have to be the case. So that's all I got to say, and thank you very much.
I appreciate that. I think the scope of this project is for those near-term intermittent interventions, but still what you're bringing up is what we're trying to get to eventually, right? Is those best practices, those best improvements. So that's something I think we should probably notate in the report is while things that we're suggesting are temporary, are short-term, aren't as significant as making those big improvements, adding the call outs and stuff, that is something that should be reached eventually. So thank you for the advice. Appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Sharon, for the sharing. Sharon has comments.
Yes, please.
Sharon Beckus, thanks for the presentation. I have a couple of questions, of course,
Mhm.
over here.
Of course.
What the heck is a bus bulb? What is a Q jump? I mean, you got them in the slides, but I don't know what they are.
Okay, yeah.
If you could
apologies.
define those, then I have more questions.
Of course. Yeah. So starting with the bus bulb, a bus bulb is put simply a curb extension, right? And so it's just a way, so you have the curb, right? And then a bus bulb just extends the curb. So that allows for various different things. So it can either be used for pedestrian access, so shortening the distance that a pedestrian needs to travel from going to one side of the crosswalk to the other by extending the curbside. So less space for cars, more space for pedestrians. Or it can be used to bring the curb out to the bus, extending the curbside, giving more space to the curb and making it so that the bus doesn't need to pull out.
Okay.
of traffic and then pull back into traffic, making for a faster boarding process. And then queue jumps are pretty simple. It's when the bus has its own lane or some modified version of a bus priority lane.
Oh,
And then they can jump the queue by being at the front of the line by having their own little signal that lets them go first before the rest of traffic at a light.
great. That's just was terminology. I didn't quite.
Our apologies. We'll make sure to
equate so
clarify next time.
Thanks for that.
Mm.
And then the other thing was, El Cajon Boulevard. How long is it going to be in temporary? Till 2027 or something? And
That's-
move to permanent?
It's a great question. Yeah. So I think currently it's being maintained by MTS, or actually it's being maintained by the city of San Diego. And I don't know if there's plans. I can get back to you to improve it and make it a more substantial change. But if you look at a bus priority lane in general, it really can be simple. It can be just striping. You just paint and you say bus priority lane here, and then you throw up a few signs. So it's sometimes it doesn't take too much to make a bus priority lane. And so
I guess what I meant was it's temporary. It's been since 2019. What did you say?
Oh,
When
yeah.
does it go to permanent?
I don't think it's temporary anymore, to answer
Oh.
your question. Yeah.
Oh, okay. good.
Yeah. So it went through that initial 18-month pilot phase, and now it's a more permanent fixture.
Okay. And then lastly, I run into more issues with A-frames.
Mhm.
A-frames will be used when there's construction being used on a route. So they'll put up a temporary A-frame. Now that temporary A-frame can be 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. I live over by La Jolla, so UTC area, and up in that area, there's a health company that I go to, and that has been months, and it's been extended more months. But when you have some of the detours, there's an A-frame and no place to sit. So why can't those temporary things go to A-frame longer term construction first before you put them somewhere else?
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah, I think that's a great suggestion. Thank you. We'll definitely notate that. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Any? Please. Mhm.
Okay, I just had a question about, you were talking about the pedestrians and the crosswalks and the buttons you push before you go across the street. I was talking with some people the other day about some of that, and my understanding that is in DC and a number of other states, you don't have push buttons. It just automatically does it. So, and announces and gives the time and stuff. So if that's the case, a lot of the talk about where to put them and just the cost of putting them there and everything just seems kind of ridiculous to me, but I don't know. I never heard of that until just the other day. So, and I've never verified it myself, but it makes sense that it would just automatically happen instead of trying to find a button to push.
Yeah, I think those are improvements that definitely exist. Again, I think that's a little bit outside the scope of this project, but I think as part of this project, we should definitely mention and look into what those best practices are. And yeah, I think a sensor-driven crosswalk can be one of those. So thank you for the suggestion.
Thank you. Any? Please.
Just one thing, the Department of Transportation just adopted enforceable guidelines for transportation facilities. And they are enforceable since January now, and they will apply even to quick build or temporary facilities.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna make sure that, and that's like kind of the last phase. It's still something we're working on, which is making sure that we have all our bases covered for what requirements we have to meet from Department of Transportation or Caltrans. Because yeah, even though these are quick, temporary, it doesn't mean that we don't have to meet all these different rules and regulations. So
Yeah.
thank you for that.
So what happens, because they just got adopted in last January, it'll take a while for Caltrans, so I urge you to look at DOT's Federal Highway Administration.
Okay, that is
Okay.
awesome. Thank you. Thank you for letting us know.
Thank you. Anyone else like to make comments or questions? Or public? We'll go to public. Any public comments, please?
Yes, we have one public comment from David Jackson. David
Yeah,
Jackson, you have 2 minutes.
David Jackson from Imperial Beach. I just want to concur with Heidi about her comment about the the bus drivers not calling out the stops. I remember there used to be recordings, wasn't always the bus driver, but I took to get here today, I took the 934 to Palm Trolley. And yeah, I know the route, I know the stops I want, but still for someone who doesn't, yeah, there were no call outs. So I just want to concur it's happening to not just her bus route. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, let's move on to the next item, item number 5. And that's an informative item, and Tim is going to present the fiscal year 2025 Transportation Development Act, Productivity Improvement, and Annual Allocations Report. Tim?
Thank you. All right. Well, I'm getting the clicker. Yeah. While I wait for the clicker, thank you for, so this item goes back to one of SANDAG's designations is a regional transportation planning agency. That's a state designation, RTPA. So as part of that, thank you. SANDAG receives funding through the Transportation Development Act, or TDA. One of the responsibilities of SANDAG is, well, we use some of that funding for our own in-house planning activities, but we also use, we pass through the funding, a good portion of it to our transit operators, MTS and NCTD, as well as FACT, which is our Consolidated Transportation Services Agency. As part of passing through the funding, we need to monitor the performance of those recipients. And so we do this on a regular basis and determine that those agencies are making a reasonable effort to improve their performance over time. So productivity improvement, that's where it comes from in this name. And then there's a few other items. So this is like an annual item that goes to our Transportation Committee and our Board of Directors. I'm not sure if it's been brought to STAC in the past, but wanted to bring it to you because it's some relevant information and yeah, really, hopefully it's useful. And there's a few other items that have been added new this year that we're trying to expand on this report. So the timeline on this, it's an annual process. In February, our Transportation Committee and our Board of Directors, they get new estimated apportionments. So they figure out how much sales tax is coming in. Sales tax, the TDA is a portion of sales tax. So based on how much sales tax is being collected, we then forecast how much money is estimated to come to SANDAG, and then we'll get passed through to the other agencies so that it can be used. It's useful for budgeting. And then, so those get approved in February. And then in May, the productivity improvement, this is kind of like the annual report on how well the agencies have been doing in the past year, comes to the TC. It was approved by our Transportation Committee last week, and it'll go to our Board of Directors this Friday on May 23rd. And then in June, once the productivity improvement program has been approved for the year, then the agencies submit their claims. So TDA works on a reimbursement program. So the agencies will submit their claims, they get processed by our TC and our board, they get approved, and then the money flows through to pay those agencies back. So the elements that are included in the productivity review, we look at performance measures over the past 3 years. So we do it on an annual basis, but we look over the past 3 years to see kind of what the longer term trend is. And there's lots of charts included in attachment 1. This is a relatively short presentation, but the reports are much more detailed, attached to the agenda. So the results of the MTS performance analysis indicate that over the past few years, both MTS and NCTD broadly are doing quite well. A lot of the measures are moving in the right direction. Operating cost per passenger is generally down for most modes. Passengers per mile, passengers per hour are going up. Operating costs are going up as well, but overall, it's a pretty good, there's nothing too concerning that we're seeing as we're looking at the MTS and NCTD operations. We also look at fare box recovery ratio, which is a really important one most of the time for making sure that agencies have thresholds that they need to hit. So that's the amount of operating money that's coming in from fares and how well that covers the cost of the operations. But a series of state laws, AB 90, AB 149, and SB 125 over the last few years have put a pause on those thresholds being enforced through 2026. So there's temporary relief from that requirement, but we'll get back into that in the next couple of years. And both agencies, well, I said both agencies are doing quite well. They're also proposing to conduct comprehensive operational analyses. So that's a kind of a transit network redesign, looking at how well each of the routes is operating and seeing where some improvements could be made to make the networks more effective and efficient. And in addition to that, SANDAG is proposing to study possible changes to regional transit fares in coordination with both transit operators, because this could have an effect on ridership, revenue, and many other TDA performance measures. So all of this is kind of a work in progress. We're just kind of kicking off that fare study now. MTS is getting their comprehensive operational analysis started very soon. And so we're all working together over the next 6 to 12 to 24 months on these types of things. And so based on the reporting, the data that we've gotten from the transit operators, as well as how well they're responding to prior audit recommendations from the past 3-year performance audit, we've determined that, or staff have determined that both operators have made reasonable efforts toward achieving their productivity improvements and should be allocated their full amounts of TDA funds. And Transportation Committee agreed with that recommendation, and it'll go to Board of Directors this Friday for their consideration as well. Another section, so that was kind of like what went to our TC. There's another section on FACT. So they're our Consolidated Transportation Services Agency, which means that they get a portion of funding, this TDA funding. And so we passed that through to them. We also, so we included in the report, it's attachment 4, a more substantial section on FACT's performance on meeting the contract requirements that we have in coordination, FACT and SANDAG. And the report shows that FACT is meeting its core functions, but with some decreases over the last 2 years in 2 areas in particular: the number of referrals and the number of agencies in their database being contacted on a quarterly basis. And so we're working with that, with FACT to address those things. There's another section that we included, hasn't been in the TDA productivity improvement report in the past, in several, I don't think it's been included in previous reports, but it is included this time, and that's a section on the STAC unmet transit needs. We realized we've been collecting, feedback from you all and from members of the public on unmet transit needs for a really long time, and that hasn't been folded into this report. So we wanted to include what some of those comments were and what we're doing to take action on them. So some of them are really relevant for the coordinated plan, which we're working on now and which we'll bring you an item on in the next meeting. And other ones are kind of more directly related to the transit operators. So we've referred those to MTS and NCTD so that they can respond, take action, change their, provide some more information and make sure that they're addressing those things that you all have raised. And so there's information in attachment 5 about those, at least for the last year, and we'll continue adding to that as time goes on. And I encourage members of the STAC to take a look at this attachment in particular, attachment 5, because this is a new process, and so we want to make the most of what we've heard from you. And so if you have additional recommendations on what we can do to respond to those unmet transit needs, we're all ears and want to incorporate that. And then one final section here, annual review of board policy 27 and TDA claim manual. This was a triennial performance audit recommendation from fiscal year 19 to 21. They recommended that we include this in the report. It's kind of outside the scope of STAC, but really it's just like cleaning up and changing some of the language in our TDA claim manual. And so we have some proposed changes that we also included. And so you can get more information about that in attachments 6 and 7. And then one final note on the funding estimates. This is what I alluded to earlier. We get the apportionments that they were approved by the board in February 2025. We're actually seeing in fiscal year 26, the amounts are decreasing from the prior year. Sales tax receipts are down, and so that results in less revenue that's available to all of our agencies that rely on this funding. And so that's concerning, but that's what that's what the sales tax receipts are showing.
Excellent. Thank you.
And yep, that concludes the presentation. I'll turn it back to Vice Chair Keegan.
Thank you. Thank you. Any public comments on Tim's report on transportation?
We have no public comment on this item, Chair.
Thank you. Any comments from our members? Yes, please.
Sales tax will decrease even more due to this new regime, so to speak. And San Diego has dropped in a number of places, ideal places to go and visit because of the high cost of coming here. So I think you're going to have a larger increase a larger decrease in sales tax income. You're not going to get as much money, basically. Just that has to be revisited, perhaps.
Anyone else like to make a comment? Okay. Am I missing? Okay. Hearing none. Thank you. Let's move on to number 7 and call upon did I miss one? I missed 6. Okay. Uh-oh. Oh, a discussion from unmet needs. The SDAC members and from the public will have the opportunity to discuss new and continuing unmet transit needs in the San Diego region. Are any public comments on unmet needs?
We have no public comment on item 6, Chair.
Hearing none, any unmet needs from our members? Yes.
Okay. As mentioned earlier, there are places in San Diego County that are amusement areas, points of interest where there is no possible transportation. Part of it is because there's not a fixed route connected to it, like going to a standard fixed route, going to the wild animal park. There is a on-call service, but somehow North County can't figure out that that's a service that people can use and get to the wild animal park. I keep getting told, because it's a bus you scheduled to get on, oh, you can just walk to the wild animal park. Excuse me, if I'm able-bodied, I can walk to the wild animal park. You're telling me as a disabled person to walk to the wild animal park, and that's not possible. So they're doing a double standard, and then that needs to be looked at in more detail. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Yes, please.
Hi, yeah, I can share from NCTD about the Flex 371, a little bit more insight about how it's used. So the Flex 371 does have a fixed schedule that you can use out of ETC to connect to the safari park. In order for it to, and it does have a stop outside the park, as you've mentioned, the bus can deviate to the front doors of the safari park, and that's where the kind of the flex capability of the route works. So what you would have to do is essentially call that number and let them know that you are hoping to be dropped off in front of the safari park, and then the bus on the scheduled time will, when it passes the safari park, will drop you off in the front. Same thing when you're going back from the safari park.
The problem though is that Lyft will not recognize that, and Lyft therefore will not accept a ride to safari park. And they should be, and there's been an argument between me and them about that, because there is a place and a way for a person to use it if they're using fixed route. That same service is to be available for people using paratransit, and they're not accepting that. Thank you.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, Flex, because it's that point deviated service, it functions a little bit different than our traditional breeze, so it doesn't have paratransit tied to it. But hopefully we see some usage with that ability to deviate to the front of the park to make it a little bit easier, but this is all really good feedback for us to consider, so I appreciate it.
Thank you. Anyone else like to make comment? Sharon?
Is that flex 7 days a week? Schedule time frames?
So currently it's Monday through Friday. But it does, if you go onto our writer's guide, it does have a set schedule that you can follow. So you can plan your trip according to that schedule.
Okay, because I'm San Diego for a while now. And in the old days, I used to be able to go to Safari Park because there was a bus that went from there to Ramona and I would take that. So I just wanted to know a bit more about that. Thank you.
Yeah, and that Flex 371 goes all the way to Ramona. It works kind of as a commuter bus, but it does have the ability to deviate into the Safari Park for folks that are interested.
Last time I looked at that schedule, it ran first thing in the morning and last thing in the afternoon.
That's it.
Yeah, that bus does have limited service just because of the distance. So when it comes to kind of implementing it operationally, it has it's a little bit more expensive than our other routes, but we do really appreciate that feedback because I know also as a San Diego and I love the Safari Park. So it's something that we can kind of look at and see how we can maybe work with the Safari Park to see when it makes sense to expand that when we have kind of the funding to do so.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to make comments? Thank you for your comments, folks. We'll move on then to hear reports from MTS and North County. Is MTS first? Would you like to make a comment?
Yeah, we're here from MTS. I don't have any specific updates to bring to today's meeting. Do you want?
Yeah, we'll just to let you guys know that we have the Rock and Roll Marathon coming on June 1st. All the routes and all the service alerts have been put out, so we're ready for the Rock and Roll Marathon for any travelers that want to get to or come from around the zoo. We will have shuttles helping out with the zoo area, so if anybody wants to visit the zoo, they can.
Anything else, sir? That's okay. How about NTS North County?
Yeah, thank you. So we had a service change on Sunday, May 18th. There was a few significant changes that were presented in the last STAC, but I'll summarize them here. As of this week, Breeze 444, which served Carlsbad Poinsettia Station, has been discontinued due to underperformance. Breeze 334, a circulator in Vista, has been replaced with the new NCTD Plus on-demand microtransit service. So this service is now available in Vista Monday through Friday from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. and Saturday and Sunday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., which is really exciting because previously the 334 did not service on Sundays. So we're hoping that this is increasing access to more local destinations in Vista. And the way that this can be booked is on demand via the NCTD Plus mobile app, or you can call our live reservation call center to kind of help with that trip booking. And fares are $3 within the zone, or if you're booking a trip to or from our Sprinter station, it's reduced to $150. So encouraging folks to kind of get into Vista using the Sprinter or other bus service, and then you can kind of access those with less like walking, or if those air destinations weren't served by existing Breeze service, hopefully you'll be able to access them now. In this service change, there's also a few minor changes with slight time adjustments for other Breeze routes to improve performance or connection with other routes. And all of that is available on our website under the Rider Guide. And then last year, NCTD Plus launched the NCTD Plus Zone in San Marcos. And at the time, it was presented as a year-long pilot. And we're excited to share that because the zone was very well utilized and well loved locally, this service is now also being implemented permanently in San Marcos. So as you mentioned, hopefully that helps with accessing more local destinations in San Marcos. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer that about the San Marcos service. And one other plug I'll have for San Marcos is I think about a year ago, we rerouted Breeze 347 between Cal State and Palomar College to go along San Marcos Boulevard. So I think that's a really a great local insight because it increased our ridership on that route like exponentially. So accessing that San Marcos Boulevard is really important. And hopefully we continue to see local residents and students and business owners use the 347 as well as a complement to the existing San Marcos NCTD Plus service. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there someone from FACT here? Yes, please.
Thank you. We have our Access for All grant still in contract, so we're waiting to sign that. We're hoping to start July. Our Ride Fact program, we've opened up our cap and are taking trips. So if any of the agencies have any referrals, you're welcome to have your seniors or people with disabilities to call us for trips. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any public comments to FACT, MTS, or NCTD?
I think there's a handout in the public. You can go and address the.
No?
Button? Oh, thank you. Okay, my name is Ethel Miranda, and I'd like to comment NCTD's Plus service. So this is a direct comment from one of I tried it. I'm a San Marcos resident. I'm totally blind, lifelong public transportation rider. So I live there, use it, everything. So now I do it as a blind passenger. And now I'm using paratransit quite a bit, but I still want to use public transportation. I was excited to hear about Plus. I had a lot of excitement. Especially knowing that they're using our paratransit vehicles, our train drivers, our dispatch. So that live telephone number, that's our dispatchers. So that's awesome. Great. This sounds great. This sounds promising, except I tried it. I was warned at the ADA Review Committee at NCTD. Robert Gibo did let us know. He did give me fair warning to us in that committee. It's not for you guys. Heads up. It's not paratransit. So they're going to run it a little different. Except, you can try it. And I thought, well, if they're using our drivers, our vehicles, and we did, trust me, we did feel the difference. So we are riding on those paratransit a lot longer. It's affecting us, the very people you're using our resources from. I tried it though, because I thought, well, let's give it a shot. They're out there running it like Ubers.
Through
So
the chair,
yes,
your
my
time has expired, so
voiceover
if you
did
wanna-
do it.
Yeah, if you want to wrap up the comment, you can continue, but just close out.
Okay, yeah, it's running like an Uber. So it was not at all accessible, not even the minimum ADA. They're not getting out of the vehicle to even say, I'm right in front of you. Or even getting anywhere near somewhere safe to drop us off. So no, it's running in a weird way. So trying to generate funds from the general public using our resources, it's a little questionable. And honestly, it's not right, especially when we're feeling the effects on the paratransit side. So a little more work. So before we give a lot of kudos and expand it where we're going to feel the worst, I'd like to hear a lot more communication and work that let's fix this a little, make it a little right for everybody. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you. Any comments from our members to MTS, North County, or FACT? Yes.
Hi, thank you so much for your comment. And I think that's all really good feedback. And definitely something I want to clarify that NCTD Plus is not meant to work as a door-to-door service the way paratransit does. So we definitely encourage folks to keep using paratransit if they have mobility needs that require that door-to-door service. The drivers on Lyft can help you to your door, can help with specialized needs. But the way that NCTD Plus works, because it's a shared ride, and it functions more as a kind of an on-demand Uber and Lyft type. It doesn't have that same kind of personal feel that paratransit offers. The same way that kind of Breeze, our bus system or our Sprinter system doesn't have that kind of personal assistance the way that Lyft offers. But we do really appreciate that feedback to try to make NCTD Plus as accessible as we can in the kind of service structure that it exists in currently. With these virtual stops and things like that. But we honestly also welcome feedback to if there are destinations that you need to get closer to through NCTD Plus, we can relocate virtual stops to be a little bit closer. But unfortunately, because it doesn't function as Lyft paratransit, it won't offer you that direct trip the way it does, that does.
Yes, please.
Am I understanding then that the drivers and the formerly Lyft vans are being used for Plus, and therefore people who would be riding on the Lyft vans are having to stay on the vans longer because there are fewer drivers possibly and vans available because of Plus?
So my understanding in terms of the vehicle acquisition is these vans were not, they were purchased with the hopes of being used for Lyft, but they were not, didn't end up going to that. And so they were kind of sitting there as available stock that we were able to reuse them as NCTD Plus vehicles, but they were not being actively pulled from that service.
Well, one more comment then is it's not uncommon at all for people in a relatively small area, North County, to spend inordinate amounts of time on the vans that are being used for paratransit. And at least the drivers have been pulled away and you had available stock sitting there. So why is that happening?
So just to clarify that, we are using the same drivers, but in a sense, we did hire additional drivers for that service. So we didn't take away from Lyft paratransit we didn't take away from paratransit Lyft to use the same drivers onto NCTD Plus. We did hire more drivers for that service. But yes, it is the same dispatchers.
I'll just comment that the impression is otherwise in North County, but thank you.
Of course.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. Anyone else like to make a comment? So seeing none, I appreciate all the updates from MTS in North County and FACT. That's our last scheduled item at this meeting. Our next regular STAC meeting is July 15th at 10 a.m. Same time, same building. And with that, have a safe journey home. And we'll see you back in July. Thank you for attending.
Nope. That's hard. Nice. There it is.